Hello and welcome to Pisces Moon Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Kate Leonard, and I'm excited to explore the stars with you. Hi everyone. Welcome to the week of February 23rd through March 1st. I know I always say this, but can you believe how fast this is all going? Like really, really fast and really, really slow in some ways, right? Anyway, we've got a giant week this week because guess what happens? Mars turns direct. How exciting is that? And then at the end of the week, way at the end of the week, Venus turns retrograde. Okay, all right, we've got a lot to talk about. Let's get into that. So this is really the celestial lovers, Mars and Venus, both changing course this week. We start the week, thank goodness for this one, on February 23rd when Mars goes direct. And then at the very end of the week to usher in March 1st, we get Venus turning retrograde in Aries. That's a big deal, and it's going to last a while, and we'll talk about all of this, and I promise I'll be putting out way more episodes on the Venus retrograde because it's a really big deal. But before we get into all of those details, let me just give you some previews. The whole middle of the week, we've got a Mercury focus. I'm not going to go into detail on this episode about that because I've already got way too much to talk about, but I do want to give you some ideas of what is happening. Do be aware that Mercury is getting ready to turn direct himself. So we are going to have an overlapping of Venus and Mercury, love and communication, going retrograde at the same time. What could go wrong? I can barely wait for this. Anyway, more to come on all of that. But this week, on the 23rd, while Mars is stationing to finally start moving forward, we've got him trining Mercury. So we're going to get new insights and ideas about how to move forward with all of that do-over stuff we've been working on, or all of those places where we felt like everything's stuck and we can't get it going. Mercury's going to come in and give us some ideas about that, and we're going to feel a lot less stagnant. Okay, I'm really excited about that trine. Then on March 25th, Mercury is going to conjunct Saturn. I'm thinking we might be experiencing limiting, Saturn rules limits, limiting self-talk, or we may even be getting communication from other people, the naysayers, right? The limitations, people trying to put the kibosh on our brilliant plans. Then on the 27th, Mercury is going to form a sextile with Uranus. So this is rebellious, out-of-the-box thinking. I kind of love that follows the Saturn thing. So I picture somebody coming in and giving us the, no, you can't. And then we get this Uranus thing and we're like, oh, yes, I can. Just watch me. So it's really, really interesting week. I love all the Mercury stuff, and I would love to actually go into a whole lot more detail about it, except we've got that Mars and Venus stuff that is just a little bit bigger and I couldn't ignore. Oh, and on the 27th, we get a very spiritual new moon in Pisces. Neptune is conjunct the north node of destiny during this new moon. So this is really the time to dream big. I really see this as almost like a portal into other knowledge. For you artists, writers, creative types out there, this new moon is your new moon. Also, people focusing on spiritual practices. So, with all of that said, let's get into the main events. And the first one is Mars turning direct to start off our week. How cool is that? Oh, and just a little quickie here. If you want to see the chart for this week and a little cheats sheet for the house systems and all of that. They're over on my very free Substack, and I would love it if you'd go over there and subscribe for free. And that way you get some of the visuals that go with this and a couple of little extra bonus content things about herbs and spiritual practices down at the end. With all of that said, let's move on. So the first thing to remember is Mars is in Cancer, and when he turns direct, he's going to be passing for the third time over these same degrees of Cancer, right? So he passed through the first time, he retrograded back over this area, and now he's finally moving direct to leave Cancer. This is that do-over energy I've talked a lot about, but we've been trying to get things started, trying to move forward. It's like, oh, I got to go back and tinker with this some more. This is finally this period where we're going to be able to launch those old actions, those old projects, not old, but you know what I mean, that we've already been working on. Could new projects come up at this time? Sure, they could, but in retrogrades, it's more likely that it's going to be something that's already been in the works, that's been stuck in one way or another, maybe stuck in the revision process. So one way or another, this is super good. Mars rules initiation, drive, enthusiasm. Of course, he also rules arguments, fighting, and separation. Could we experience both sides of his energy? We certainly could. And a lot of that has to do with where he hits in your natal chart. What house is he passing through? What are those issues? And very, very importantly, what planets in your natal chart is he communicating with? So do you have problematic planets in your house where Cancer resides? Is he making a square or an opposition to some of your natal planets? So you see, it gets very complicated, and you have to take all of that kind of into consideration when you're seeing, when you're trying to predict what kind of experience you're going to have with this Mars energy. There's no way to do that here, but I would love to do a reading with you. Just let me know if you want to do that. Anyway, one way or another, we're going to start moving forward, and that is only a good thing. Now, with that said, now that I've said that's only a good thing, let me tell you the kind of less than good thing about it. Mars is still in Cancer. Mars doesn't like being in Cancer. Never going to like it. Moving forward, moving backwards, doesn't really matter. Doesn't like it. He's considered to be in his detriment there. That just means unhappy. And why? He's fire. Cancer is water. So kind of picture a big old fireball with like little arms and legs so he can swim. Yeah, I don't know. That's how it works in my head. Picture a giant fireball plopped into the middle of the ocean. He's not going to be his best self, right? There's a sluggishness. He can be really, Cancer wants to be emotional. It's called the mommy sign. I hate that a lot, but a lot of people do call it that. And I understand why. It's the nurturer, right? They're both about protection, but Cancer nurtures to protect. I'll give you a hug. I'll keep you safe. Mars goes to battle for you, right? These are not the same energies. So Mars is kind of like, what do I do? Cancer's trying to give you hot cocoa and a chocolate chip cookie, and Mars is trying to pass his sword to you. It's weird. So we are moving forward. And so a lot of that tantrumy, petulant kind of stuff we've been experiencing will probably lighten up. And here's the bigger thing, that exhaustion. Mars in Cancer also is a key indicator for depression. And I know a lot of us have been going through really serious depression recently. If that's you, I am so sorry. And I am not saying don't also go get real life help, really mundane in this world help. But do know with Mars moving forward, some of what that cosmic energy has been contributing is going to lighten up. So even though Mars isn't happy in Cancer, so I don't want you to think that it's going to be like, oh, it's just a party, right? It's going to be better. It's going to be lighter. We're going to have more energy because while Mars doesn't swim fast in Cancer, he does get moving once he's going direct, right? So it's going to be a better time. It's just not great until he moves into Leo. So depending on your time zone, Mars is going to enter Leo on or around April 17th. We don't have a whole lot of time to wait. Thank goodness. We're going to be doing better. And then when he gets in Leo, he's still going to be going over for the third time some degrees he's already traveled. So it's still going to be that kind of do-over energy, but moving forward with it. And once he's in Leo, Leo's hot and fiery. So Mars can go full blast, right? And so it's a much, much better time that we're coming into. Other things going on during this time when Mars is turning direct are important to keep in mind. He's going to be briefly opposing the moon in Capricorn. And you know, where the moon goes, change goes, but also our emotions and our emotional attachment to things. Capricorn is our projects, what we're working on, how we think we're getting ahead. So the moon is there kind of saying like, I don't know, do we need to make some changes? That's actually really good during most of this Mars moving forward because it is about like, okay, we've made changes, let's go. But Mars is going to be opposing for a little while. So there might be a time of frustration, okay, where we're feeling just kind of emotionally drained. Like, I have worked and reworked this thing so long and so hard, and I just kind of want to throw it out the window at this point. Don't do that. This opposition only lasts a little while because the moon moves very, very quickly. He's also going to make an exact trine to Mercury in Pisces. So I talked about that in the little preview of coming attraction pieces. That is going to be where we're really getting inspired new ideas. Our plans are going to get solidified and start moving forward, all of that. So there's a lot of complication going on during this. But again, I think the biggest issues to keep in mind, it's time to move forward. And we're going to start to feel the energy, drive, momentum picking up, and we're going to be able to get those projects going finally. And keep in mind, and it's good that we have this auspicious thing from Mercury coming, that's going to give us the good ideas, the focused thought to help us really get going with what it is we're trying to do. I hope that makes sense. All right. So this Mars turning direct is what starts our week. Then we've got all this mercurial stuff going on. We're moving forward. We're starting to finally build a little momentum. And we hit the end of the week, March 1st, and Venus stations to turn retrograde. So we just get out of this sense of do-over and all of that stuff, and we get plunged immediately back into it. It's a very different thing when Venus goes retrograde, but nevertheless, we're not free and clear for very long. Another thing I think is really interesting about the symmetry of this week is, you know, we've got Mars doing its direct turn at the beginning, Venus turning retrograde, and she's in Aries, a Mars-ruled sign. So I really think that the Mars energy is what's dominant this week. So it's about energy. It's about being fired up. See, he's in the water, so it's not going to be so fired up, but a little fired up, right? Because Venus being in a Mars rule sign really, again, puts the focus on that kind of energy. Let's talk about the other things that this Venus does. And I know, let me just get one thing out of the way. And we're going to talk a lot about the Venus retrograde as we go through it. But yes, old lovers are going to come back around. I know that. That's what you're all thinking, like, right? Will he or she come back? Because everybody knows that about Venus retrogrades. So yes, absolutely. For a lot of people, I guarantee my clients calling in to make appointments, a lot of it's going to be because an old lover has reconnected And they want to know, like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Let's go deep into the chart, right? Yes, that is definitely going to happen. If that is you, remember, Venus has already gone over this territory, is going to retrograde back and go over it again. So if you are one of those people dealing with the ex showing up, coming from out of whatever cave he or she's been hiding in, it's not going to just be smooth sailing. All right. So I'm not going to focus on the lover thing too much, but I know it's on a lot of people's minds. So just know that they'll come back. Then you guys will remember why you broke up in the first place. And then maybe you'll get together again, or at least move forward with better emotional clarity by the end of it, not in the beginning, not in the back and forth of it, but by the end of it, hopefully there will be more emotional clarity, whether that means that now you're madly in love and back together, or you're broken up completely, or you're friends, or you're whatever. It will be a much more clear picture of that. And, that at least is always a good thing. For you artists and writers out there, the other thing that this could mean, Venus also rules art. So could you pick up that old manuscript you've been writing? The old canvas that you would put it over in the corner of your studio and start working on it again? You absolutely could. But as I said, this is not even what I'm focusing on this week. What I really want to focus on, and what I think is going to be super important this week and moving forward during this retrograde season, is us re-examining our values. Venus rules our values, what we value, our value system, right? Whatever that means. And I think at this time, we're really going to be focused on, what do I value in my life? What do I value in the world? What do I value in my relationships? What is my relationship to money and possessions? What is my relationship to the financial system that I find myself living in? A lot of people are doing no buy. Hey, I watch YouTube. I know what people are doing. A lot of people are doing like no buy years, and economic protest and all kinds of things like that are going on. And I don't think that that's a coincidence as we're leading into this Venus retrograde. Remember, when we get a planetary event like a retrograde, we've had like a lead up period, right? It's called that pre-shadow. So just because Venus doesn't turn retrograde until the end of the week on March 1st, we've been in the pre-shadow phase for a while. So look at what's been coming up for you. Look at what kinds of things have been calling to you as far as re-examining your values and what you value. Okay, because that, I think, is going to be what we're really, really doing this retrograde season. I think we're going to be doing this generally. So people always get confused about, not everybody, so if it's not you, it's not you. Lots of people get confused about, you say we're going to be examining our values, but then you talk about house system. Kate, what do you mean? It's kind of both, right? There's this general sense of re-examining our values. And then whatever house is Aries in your chart and whatever issues are connected to that house, you will probably get a special hit of it there. So if it's my first house, that is me. That is the essential me. I may be examining whether I'm aligned to my true values. And in Aries, that's exactly fitting, right? Because Aries is the me sign. Me, me, me. Do my values ring true to who I am? That will be amplified if Aries is your first house. Fourth house, my family. How do I value my family? Is my family interacting and structured in a way that aligns with how I feel a family should be? Do I need to make adjustments? How do I value my lover? Seventh house, my relationship. Am I prioritizing it enough? Too much? Do I need to tweak something? Artists and writers, I always have a special place in my heart for you. Fifth house, Aries. Does my art align with who I want to be in the art world, in the world of where I bring out my creative expression? Am I aligning my artistic style, content, whatever it is, with what I'm really trying to put out into the world? 10th house career. A lot of people quit their jobs during this, and they're like, I didn't know Venus was going to make me quit my job. Quitting or redefining in some way your career could really, really be happening if your Aries is 10th house. Why? Because we're looking at our values. Am I working in some sucky job that kind of goes against what I believe in the world, how I want to be contributing my energy to the world? Am I earning my money in a way that I'm proud of? Right? 11th house, friends, groups we associate with, our tribe. Are we with the right people? Does this align with our heart's truth? Do these people fit? Okay. So that's the kind of things that I think we're really, really going to be looking at and really starting to focus on. And as I said, we've already been in the pre-shadow. So this stuff has probably been nagging at you a little bit, right? This is probably not going to be like March 1st, March 2nd, March 3rd. It's not going to be like we're just suddenly like, oh, I hate my job. No, that's not how it goes. We've already had nagging feelings like, wow, the world is changing. And it's changing fast. And I don't know if I can keep doing X, whatever that is, or the world is changing. And I think my family and I need to sort of restructure to be ready for this next chapter that we're going into. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking about. This sense of really looking at our lives and challenging ourselves and reconsidering whether we are truly aligned, not with who we used to be, not with what used to make sense. Are our values, are our actions all aligned now with this sort of new reality of this year, this time, this space in the world? Okay. I think that's what this is all about. We're going to have all the other stuff. And like I said, I'm going to do a lot of episodes on this. So I'm going to go into that other stuff. The lovers, at the beginning, Venus, love in Aries, Mars ruled fighting. You might be revisiting some old fights. You get what I'm saying? So we're going to be going over all of that stuff. But I really encourage you to sit with the idea of just, what do I value? What matters to me? And is my life aligned so that I'm living in my truth? I think that's what we're about this week. I do. And beyond this week. So that's what I've got for you this week. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to do readings. I encourage you to go over to Substack. It is a different sort of experience there, and it's very easy to contact me there if you want to see what services I offer and my price list. That's on my website, Pisces Moon Astrology, or Kate Leonard Astrology will also get you there. The link is below. I hope everything is linked below. I believe it is. Thank you for staying around. Please share the podcast. I know you always do. And that's it for me. So until next week, go out and seize the energies of the stars. This is my wish for you always. And what a week. I'll see you later. Bye.